What is a sanctuary? Many would say that sanctuary means a refuge, safety from persecution, or safety from a danger that lingers in the world around you. In the universe of Diablo, sanctuary was to be the land where the great conflict could not interfere. A world that may be inhabited by humans or mortals, intended to be a safe haven. However, once the prime evils had become aware of the new world, they sought to use the people for their own ends, using them to defeat their enemies. However, they found where there had been those who were suitable for their needs, there were also those of righteous hearts who followed holy wisdom that would fight them, and so this sanctuary soon became another battlefield with the demons being fought on two fronts. But who created the sacred lands of sanctuary? And why did they seek refuge in their fight? In this video, we seek the answers to these questions, but perhaps we may find something that could disturb us to our core. In the eon-long conflict, the two factions of heaven and hell would fight amongst themselves. Light versus dark, the high heavens and the burning hellscape. The war had been fought to dominate all of creation. However, over time, neither side has proven successful. With every archangel fallen, a demon is slain. However, both sides always seem to find a way to turn the tides in their favor. Inside the armies of the high heavens, there had been an archangel known as Inarius, who served under Tyrael's command, the archangel of justice. However, over the eon-long war, fatigue began to seep into the ranks, and Inarius began to get tired of the conflict upon the burning hells, and so began to plot an escape from the horrors of warfare. The plan consisted of building a new world, one where demons and angels could live together peacefully. Inarius used his influence as the prophet to recruit others to his cause, forming his renegade sub-faction, and together they had stormed the gates of the Pandemonium Fortress to gain access to the World Stone. Once within their grasp, the renegades led by Inarius met a demon who wanted the same as them, to build a world free from the war, Lilith. However, this was not to be their first meeting. Before, on the battlefields near to one of the fortress's outposts, Inarius had led his kin to battle against the demons. However, in the conflict he became wounded and was left marooned in the wilderness and to the demon's mercy. This is where he met Lilith, who had captivated him. Hearing out his plans for the new world, she would free him from his chains before giving her name to him while taking her leave. Inside the Pandemonium Fortress, the two had reunited, and together they would change the World Stone's frequency or dimensional properties, concealing it away from the angels and demons in the battlements. In time, the two would use their great power to shift the World Stone into a pocket dimension where they would construct a world around it, creating the lands that Inarius would name Sanctuary. Soon after this event, however, the two sides of the conflict felt the absence of the World Stone. The disappearance would temporarily stop the conflicts happening all over the realm. Fortunately, Inarius was already shaping Mount Eriot around the World Stone, creating a protective barrier around it, and from there, the rest of Sanctuary would be built from the ground up. However, this was to be only the beginning, as we all know with the creation of a new world, life would come next into its existence. Inarius willingly stayed in Sanctuary, believing that he would not be welcome back in the high heavens after his actions. Fooling the renegade angels and demons, Inarius would tie the World Stone's energies to himself, so that he would become the strongest entity in this new world, and therefore the ruler of this sanctuary. However, both Lilith and Inarius would rule together, with a council of both angels and demons at the helm. The structure they would build for themselves and the council would be later known as the Temple of the Firstborn, which had been built up like a fortress with the architecture comprising of both demon and angel properties. The spires would reach up towards the stars, and its foundations would hold claw marks as the demons dug them deep, trailing down into the roots of the world. The gates would contain various courtyards and chambers for their brethren. The reason for this location was to be the first sighting of when Inarius and Lilith had stepped onto the soil of this fresh world. The archangel and his demonic ally had accomplished their goals by banding the two sides together to create a paradise outside the reaches of the Great Conflict, a feat previously thought to be impossible due to their divine and grotesque differences. Eventually, Lilith would mate with Inarius and would birth the ones to inherit the world, and soon an entire race would form out from this beginning with the rise of the Nephilim, and Inarius would become watchful over their development. Eventually, however, like many races do, the Nephilim would meet a conflict amongst themselves with two notable members of this race, Kalmor and Berserk, where Kalmor realized that Berserk wished for violence against their creators, and this resulted in a duel where Kalmor would strike the Nephilim down in great fury. However, this would come with a great shock, as before this event they had no knowledge of death and that the Nephilim could even be killed. Kalmor would then be summoned to the Temple of the Firstborn to answer for this act. As Inarius remained silent, the council would remark that the death of Berserk had been regrettable but necessary, as he gave Kalmor no choice. It was kill or be killed. This revelation led into the discovery that while the Nephilim didn't age, or could be consumed by plagues, they were still able to be slain. Kalmor would present the council with the sword used to kill Berserk, and they would destroy it before filing out. Seeing the great potential of the Nephilim and their power beginning to rise and surpass their own would spark dissension amongst the ranks through the unity of the defected angels and demons of Sanctuary, with some ordering for the destruction of the Nephilim and others believing that they should be spared. For those who voted destruction, their main fear was to be the discovery of the Angrist Council and the Prime Evils, as if they were to be found, then it would mean their own destruction or imprisonment, as a unity of this degree was deemed blasphemy among both sides. Inarius considered taking the route of genocide, but was concerned by the split opinions of his peers, so he ordered for a period to reflect and to consider the issue in solitude. Lilith, however, would be driven into a mad frenzy by those who would even consider slaughtering her children, the Nephilim, in some maternal instinct for them. She would be so furious that she began picking each of these angels and demons off one by one, leaving Inarius to find out what had been left in the frenzy's wake. He would stop Lilith, but found he could not kill his former lover. He couldn't bring himself to do it, so then he vowed to her that he would never strike her down or let anyone do it. He instead banished her into the void for these deaths, which, like the name suggests, a realm with nothing inside, perhaps the space between worlds or even dimensions. Now Inarius had been very much left alone, except for the race of Nephilim, to which he would call them abominations. He would then consider the option to reduce their powers by convening with the World Stone. Unable to kill them himself, he began to tamper with the World Stone's properties, so that instead of their powers growing over time, it would have the opposite effect and would diminish over time. He then announced a new law onto them that forbid any of them to use their powers, otherwise they would be punished. He further claimed that Sanctuary was his world, and it would remain the way he envisioned it to be, the perfect world. However, the Nephilim would heavily protest to this, but those who did had been crushed by Inarius' wrath. To those who survived, they would flee with their powers beginning to fade out. After this event, Inarius had disappeared, perhaps out of shock for letting his anger get the better of him, or for destroying those who spoke out against him. In many writings, it had speculated that Inarius, after these events, took the form of a human and lived amongst his children, watching as they had grown all over Sanctuary, and their civilizations growing with them. Unlike the Nephilim, he did not see humans as a threat. However, this would not be the last we would hear of Inarius, but what had become of him? Well, that would be a tale for another time, but for now, we come to the conclusion of this video with the beginnings of Sanctuary. Who created the world of Sanctuary, what the unity of demons and angels had been, the rise of the Nephilim. However, even though Inarius had purged them of their powers, some in the world remained. I theorize that perhaps the Nephilim's power had rooted from inheritance with the power gap, not being due to skill of using them or working on heightening their power over time, but they were from birth, already at that power height. Hence why we see the Nephilim rise in Diablo 3, with them building their power up over time, perhaps even being built up over the course of the previous games. But even with this theory, we can see that with the downfall of the Nephilim, Inarius may had unwittingly given the prime evils an advantage over humanity, with them being too weak to fight back, or at least the majority of them. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, then hit the like button, comment your thoughts below, and I look forward to hearing from you. Sign up to join the British Alliance today by hitting the subscribe button and ringing in the notification bell for all updates, as YouTube doesn't like to notify us when new videos go up, unless the bell has been activated. A special thank you to all of my members for your extra mile support. It certainly helps in creating new content for all of you. If you would like to become a member of this channel and gain exclusive perks and benefits, then hit the join button today and see which of the tiers is right for you. And I will see all of you among the cosmos, and be sure to have a good one.